Hey, gorgeous! Welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast with Holly Worton, which combines powerful strategies on how to upgrade your business mindset, along with practical business tips to grow your business. This podcast features solo shows with Holly and also interviews with inspiring women entrepreneurs from around the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. And now, here's your host, Holly Worton.
Hello and welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast, episode 166. This is your host, Holly Worton, and I'm back with another solo episode. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about easy inspired action. I'm going to help demystify what this means and talk about whether this actually exists or is it some kind of entrepreneurial unicorn that is debatable whether or not it exists, and talk about the difference between, hustle kind of energy and easy inspired action. So the reason this came up as a topic is because it came up in one of my last sessions with my coach, Lisa Wechtenheiser. And I think it was something my guides mentioned or she mentioned or something. We started talking about easy inspired action because she asked me, what is the biggest result that clients get from working with you? And that was the first thing that popped into my mind, partly because I've heard it so often. So many clients have said that to me. And also because I know that that's one of the biggest results that I've gotten as a result of working with Psych-K to transform my own mindset. So here's the deal. From my experience, when you identify what it is that your blocks are, and your fears and your limiting beliefs and all that mind crap that gets in the way, and you do the work to release this stuff at the subconscious level and transform your beliefs into enhancing beliefs, positive beliefs that support you rather than limit you, and then you take practical action, it just becomes so much easier. I know I've told the story 1,000 times, but when I first made the move from, my very first business in the hospitality industry to being a solopreneur, all my stuff came up. All the mind crap bubbled up to the surface. Stuff that had never reared its head before because I had never had to market myself as a solopreneur. I had marketed the product, the service that my business provided. So this is where I realized that even if you have all the solid business and marketing experience, there can still be stuff that holds you back. And that stuff, in my case, was the mindset stuff. I had so many limiting beliefs, so much just lack of self-confidence, low self-esteem, so much stuff that was keeping me from knowing what actions to take and taking the right actions. So on one hand, I knew some of the actions that I had to take to market my business because my background was in online marketing. So I kind of knew what I had to do. But I spent a lot of time listening to, doing lots of research and listening to the gurus and their blueprints and their plans for success. Now, as I hope you figured out now, and if you haven't, listen to this, or you'll figure it out at some point. Just because a particular blueprint worked for someone else does not mean it's going to work for you. It might, but it might not. I honestly do not believe that there is a single blueprint that works for everyone. Maybe this is debatable, but I think most people in the kind of coaching, well-being, therapy kind of industry will recognize the fact that what's worked for someone else won't work for everyone. And maybe you've tried modeling your business after one of the big guru star entrepreneurs, and maybe that hasn't worked for you, or maybe it has. I mean, again, it will work for some people, but I don't believe that there's a single blueprint that works for everyone. So anyway, so I tried, following other people, trying their stuff, trying their blueprints, didn't find anything that worked for me. I worked with coaches, stuff wasn't working. And it wasn't until I really developed a deeper connection with myself that I started to understand that business didn't have to be that hard. So in addition to all of the mindset work that I was doing, in addition to releasing my fears, clarifying the beliefs that I needed to work on, working on them using Psych-K, in addition to all that, I was also developing a much deeper connection with myself. I was getting to know myself, and I was tapping into my intuition and enhancing my intuition just by using it. Now, I recently released a book called Business Intuition, and in fact, that's what my last solo show was about, but that was a big game changer in my life. I mean, for years, I always thought, I would look at other people that had really well-developed intuitions, and I always thought, oh God, I wish I could be like that. They're just so tuned into themselves, and, I didn't realize that it was a skill that you could develop. Now I do, because I went from zero intuition to really being connected with myself. And I know I've still got a ways to go. I'm obviously not perfect in the intuition department. But yeah, it's so much better and it's so much easier. So to me, developing your intuition is part of the mindset stuff because it helps you stay connected to yourself. It helps you receive information from yourself, and it helps you be aligned with yourself and take actions based on what's right for you rather than following everyone else's advice. Now, there was a time, might have been late last year or early this year, that I unsubscribed from most lists that I belonged to because I was consciously trying to pay attention to my own signals more. And every time I would read other people's newsletters, it distracted me. So I unsubscribed from just about everything because I would love reading people's newsletters and the stuff that they were offering, and I would get really kind of excited about it. And again, that would kind of take me outside of myself. So I turned down the volume on the noise that I was feeding my brain with. Spent a lot less time on Facebook. I mean, I was still using it to market my business, but I wasn't looking at other people's stuff that much. So it was kind of a one-sided thing there. I mean, obviously I was reading other people's stuff on Facebook, but nowhere near as much as I had been. So I really tried to turn down the volume on other people's noise and tap into my own stuff and what was going on. So that led me to a point where easy inspired action became easy. So let's talk about what the heck is easy inspired action. So inspired action to me is action that's not forced. Sometimes I'm sure you've maybe worked with a coach or you've followed someone else's advice and they said, go away and go do this and, this will work for your business. So you've gone away and you've been like, this doesn't feel quite right, but they said it's right. So they said it's good. So I'll do it. And you force yourself to do it. And it's like everything is kind of telling you no and your gut's going, this is awful. But you force yourself to do it and you do it. Or maybe it feels so awful that you don't force yourself to do it and you just avoid it. So to me, that's the kind of stuff that's not aligned, not inspired action. It's forced action. So to me, inspired action it's aligned with you and your energy. It's authentic. It's the kind of stuff that you can do when you're in flow, you're in the zone. It's the stuff that your intuition tells you to do. I tell a story in the beginning of my Business Intuition book about how I had planned a certain calendar for my books this year and the books that I was going to be releasing. And it got to the point where I realized I had to switch things around and add a new book because my intuition, my gut feeling told me that that was what I needed to do. So that to me is inspired action. It's the stuff that my intuition says, hey, do this. It's the stuff that you do with confidence. It's so easy, you don't even think about doing it. And it's the stuff that doesn't happen when you're self-sabotaging yourself. So when you've got all those limiting beliefs and the mindset crap that I talked about earlier, that's the stuff that helps your subconscious mind sabotage you from doing the stuff you wanted to do. And it keeps you safe and sound in your comfort zone. But as I've said before, oftentimes a lot of the actions that we need to take to market our businesses and to be visible lie outside of our comfort zone. So if you want to grow your business, you're going to have to step outside of that. I think the important thing here to say is that inspired action can be easy, but it's not necessarily comfortable. It's not always comfortable. Sometimes when we're growing and we're taking these actions outside of our comfort zone, there are growing pains. So I don't want to say that by suggesting that easy inspired action is a thing, that it's super comfortable. It can feel like a stretch. But, and this is something that you'll realize once you become more kind of tapped into your intuition and more aligned with yourself, you'll be able to recognize when something is uncomfortable inspired action because it's taking you outside of your comfort zone, and when it's not aligned or forced. And again, that's something that you'll feel once you get to know yourself better. And maybe you're already in the place where you can feel that. And if so, congratulations, because it's amazing. I do believe that inspired action is a thing. I do believe it can be easy, but it doesn't always feel super warm and fuzzy. So when you've tapped into your intuition, it's like you know what actions you need to take. Like me with adding, every time I add a book title to my list of books that I want to write, it's because my intuition gave it to me. It popped into my mind at a certain time when I was in flow or relaxed, and there it is. And so I've added it to my list. And then when I choose the next book to write, it's my intuition that's telling me, my gut is telling me which one to do. It's not, I don't do them in alphabetical order, or, I don't have a system. And the plan can change. So I've got everything written down in pencil because I like to move things around. I have a page full of Post-it notes with all my book titles on them. And I kind of put them in order so that I can pick them up and move them around. It's a very, very flexible process. So again, intuition, inspired action will help you know what actions you need to take and when. A lot of the big name coaches, and I hear this so often, talk about hustle. You've got to hustle with your business. You've got to hustle, hustle, hustle. And I hate that word so much. I hate it. And I hate it because I don't like that energy. I don't like that energy of always pushing. It does not feel aligned for me. And that doesn't mean that it's wrong. I'm sure that's aligned for a lot of people, especially people that are going out there saying that, they're hustling all the time. But just because a lot of people are saying you've got to hustle to build your business, that's another thing that I don't think is right for everyone. I don't think that everyone needs to hustle. Yeah, you've got to take action. You can't just sit back and wait for the clients to discover you. That's not going to happen. You have to take action, but I don't think it needs to be hustle. And I think the people that use the word hustle, when they're kind of called out on it, they, defend themselves and say, oh no, but this is good hustle. I don't know. If the word works for you, use it. If it doesn't work for you, then that's probably why you're listening to this podcast episode. Because to me, hustle is kind of the opposite of easy inspired action, or at least that's how I perceive it, or that's how I feel it. I feel it as like push, as opposed to flow. Because to me, easy inspired action is like flowing with your business rather than pushing against the stream, which is that's kind of the energy that I feel associated with hustle, pushing against the stream, like, oh, working so hard. And I don't like that. That doesn't work for me. But again, it will work for other people. So when you're taking easy inspired action, that means that it's easier to build your business because it's easier for you to take action. It makes it easier for you to be visible, and it makes it easier for you to get clients. Now, I was just talking about this with a client the other day because we were putting together a belief statement for her, and she said, yeah, I don't want to use the word easy because easy to me sounds like I don't have to do anything. So instead of saying easy, we created the belief statement with ease. So I do such and such a thing with ease. So if the word easy doesn't sound right for you, you might change it to inspired action with ease. I don't know. Find out what works for you, or find out if this energy, feels aligned to you at all, because it might not. So thinking about this, building your business with ease, being visible with ease, getting clients with ease, what might be possible for you as an entrepreneur if you embraced easy inspired action as opposed to hustle? Think about it. How does that energy feel for you? Easy inspired action instead of hustle. Now, as I've said, easy inspired action does not mean that you're just going to sit back and do nothing. It just means that when you're tapped into your intuition and when you're doing the mindset work, that means that it's easier for you to take inspired action, actions that are aligned with you, that are authentic to you, that are easy to do in flow. So I've been thinking a lot lately about the essential ingredients for easy inspired action. Like, how do you get it? How do you get to that point? And what makes it easy inspired action? So to me, kind of in summary of some of what we've talked about already, it's aligned and authentic rather than forced, comes from tapping into your intuition and developing that intuition and turning up the volume on your intuition and listening to it and taking action on what it tells you. Because the more you take action on the stuff that your intuition tells you to do, the more developed your intuition will become. It also has to do with having a clear vision and dream and goals for your business. And I think this is kind of the starting point. And this is something that will change. So I think it's important to, do a quarterly check-in, do a monthly check-in. It depends on how much you are growing as an individual and how much your business is growing. But I think it's super, super important to have that clear vision and goals and dream. And stay on top of it. Stay on top of it. When it changes, you need to be super clear on what that vision is, because that will help you to know what actions you need to take to achieve those goals and vision. And then the mindset work that I'm always talking about. So, uncover your blocks, discover your blocks, bring them to light, and do the work to transform them at the subconscious level. This is super, super important because that's what's going to help you take that easy, inspired action. And then, I don't know if this could be considered an essential essential ingredient. But what does easy inspired action feel like? It feels like flow. It feels like you're confidently taking action on the stuff you want to take action on. So, again, I tell the story a lot of when I first started working with Psyche with myself. I was working with a coach at the time, and she was asking me to do a bunch of stuff that didn't really feel aligned, but I was doing it anyway, so it was forced and not super inspired. But by doing that mindset work, it made it easy to take action. And as I've discussed in my other books, particularly my business visibility book, I had so many issues with visibility. I was so scared of being visible with my business and standing out and putting myself out there, even though I knew that was what I had to do to market my business. So doing that mindset work and getting into a state of confident flow where everything just kind of happens easily, that's an important part of inspired action. That's what inspired action feels like when you're taking it. And when you're aligned, and when you're taking action that's aligned with you, and when you're taking that easy inspired action, there's no pushing and shoving. It flows. It's like you're in the zone, and it just all kind of moves smoothly. Whereas, again, going back to that word hustle, which you may or may not like, hustle to me is push, 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 shove, shove, shove. So what are the benefits of taking easy inspired action rather than hustling all the time? To me, it's about getting stuff done quickly and easily and painlessly. Now, like I said before, it's not always comfortable, but it doesn't have to be painful. I think easy inspired action could be sometimes uncomfortable, but pain-free. So it's about, creating that list of things to do to market your business and other stuff you have to do in your business, and just flowing through the list and not struggling with it and not procrastinating. I think that's another important thing. If you're constantly procrastinating on something, maybe you've got some blocks around that. So maybe it's something that's aligned for you and right for you, but it's so scary you're procrastinating. Do the mindset work to release that stuff. Or maybe it's just not right for you. Now, again, that's something that you'll know from really knowing yourself and tapping into yourself and knowing, listening to your intuition. But before you dismiss something as not right for you or not aligned, stop and think. Do you have any fears, blocks, limiting beliefs, mindset crap around that? And if so, do the work to release it. So again, I think one of the top benefits of easy inspired action is just getting stuff done quickly and painlessly. It's also taking the right actions. And I think this is really, really important, not listening to someone else's cookie cutter approach to business, not following someone else's blueprint if it's not right for you. It's taking the right actions for you and for your business to grow your business your way authentically. And I think that's an important thing to remember, because I think a lot of us have wasted time in the past on stuff that wasn't right for us, but we forced ourselves to do it because someone said, this is the way, and so we tried it. And that's fine. I mean, I think those are important mistakes to make because you've got to take action and try the wrong stuff before you can figure out what the right stuff is. Because oftentimes our gut is not speaking up from the beginning and not telling us because we're not listening to it. So again, taking the right actions is a second big benefit of taking easy inspired action. And another thing is confidently moving towards your goals. Because when you're taking action and you're not sure if it's the right action, you can kind of be really hesitant about it. It's like you'll write an email to your list, but you're like, I don't know about that. And so your energy isn't quite there. Or you do a webinar, but it's kind of awkward because you really didn't like the webinar format, but someone told you should do it, so you did it. So when you do actions that aren't inspired and aren't aligned with you, there's some icky, weird, awkward energy behind that even if you're not aware of it, I think other people will become aware of it and will pick up on it because at some level they'll realize it's not aligned for you and there's something weird or off about it. So again, if you're taking action that's not aligned and not inspired, it's going to have that weird energy. But whereas when you're taking easy, inspired action, you're confidently moving towards your goals and you're in that state of flow, you know you're on the right path, which to me is kind of another related benefit. And the energy is so aligned that you seem strong and confident and congruent. And so people will pick up on that in the same way that they'll pick up on energy that makes you look like you're not congruent. So I think that, this is just a small list of benefits of taking easy, inspired action. There's so many more, but I hope that with this episode, like I said, this is an introduction and this is something I'll be talking a lot more about. Maybe there's a book in the future about this. I don't know. It's on the list of books. So I guess there will be a book at some point. Again, I don't think easy inspired action is, mythical creature that doesn't really exist or that's, someone's way of tricking you into thinking business can be easy. I don't think business has to be hard, and I don't think you need to hustle. If hustling kind of energy is not right for you, then don't do it. Don't force yourself to do it. Don't push yourself into something that's not right for you. And I think if there's only one takeaway from this podcast episode, I think that should be it. Do what's right for you. If the hustle energy is right for you, go with that. If easy inspired action sounds better to you, go with that. But, I'm always saying do what's right for you. So anyway, I don't think that easy inspired action, like I said, I don't think it's a mythical creature. I do believe that it exists and it's possible, but you've got to do the work to get to the point where you can take easy action. So again, it's not like you can just kind of sit back and this all just kind of falls into flow. You've got to do the work to get to the point where you can flow. And again, that comes from clarifying your vision, your goals and your actions, discovering your blocks, working on your blocks, taking action, and then kind of repeating, going through the whole process again so that you can easily build your business, easily be more visible, easily build your tribe, easily get clients. So I think that's about it for today. I hope you found this useful. I hope this was interesting and inspiring to you. I would welcome some feedback on this because, again, this is a new kind of concept that I'm just trying to talk about, even though I know it's been kind of marinating in the back of my head for a while. When I say a while, I mean a few years. So this is all just starting to come out. So I welcome any feedback. So you can either email me at holly@hollyworton.com, or you can use the contact form on my website, which is hollyworton.com. You can, get in touch somehow. And I would love to hear from you and know, what you thought of this episode. So that is all for today, and I will be back next month. I'm not doing a solo episode, so October I won't be, but November I will be back with another solo episode. So that's it for now, and thank you for listening, and remember to visit hollyworton.com/166 for the show notes on this episode. Thank you so much for listening. And before I sign off, I just wanted to say, if you enjoy this podcast, can I ask you a huge favor and please rate and review it on iTunes? That would be a massive, massive favor to me. I know so many people give me feedback that they really enjoy the podcast, but I don't actually have a lot of reviews on iTunes, and that would really help get this podcast out there. Also, If you find the podcast useful, could you please tell a friend about it, or maybe post a link about it on your Facebook or Twitter? That would be super, super useful. So thank you very much and have a great day.
Thanks so much for listening to the Business Mindset Podcast with your host, Holly Worton. You can find more information about today's episode, including links for topics that were discussed at hollywharton.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to head over to iTunes and leave a quick review of this podcast. It just takes a minute. Thank you.